It's Dr. Phill on The View, and the View is gnarly about copyright claims. Dr. Phill totally owns, just dominates the room full of harpies, and he does it with a smile. Even though you can tell they want to yell at him, they just can't because it's Dr. effing Phill. It's
just emanating I'm smarter than you vibes, and they're just all like, ugh. I
also want to translate what I think he wanted to say at the very end of this, because I do believe that in his head there was a different dialogue going on. Mm-hmm. And then he turned around and said, the nice Dr. Phill thing.
Last year,
Dr. Phill
you aired the final episode of the Dr. Phil show.
I'm going to skip through it. First off, they're talking about him airing the final episode of Dr. Phill, who's starting a new TV show. It's like investigative journalism, like old school investigative journalism. He's going to go down to the border. He's going to go down to Washington. He's going to go to Cleveland. He's going to go to wherever, Flint, Michigan, wherever the story takes him, he's going to go there and he's going to get the real facts. What's great about this is people trust him. Like my mom is like, Dr. Phil's awesome. Now you have someone who's actually trusted, who's going to tell you the truth.
Actually, I was just like, whoa, holy crap. I can't believe anybody on the mainstream would say that.
Right. So he's talking about the border situation and how kids are being trafficked, right? Because they are. There's kids being trafficked. It's not just him that has said this. Multiple people have come out and said that this is a problem. And we're ignoring it because there's something really dirty about ignoring the trafficking of kids because you don't want your side to look bad. Like, stop doing that. It's okay. I'll give you a mulligan here if you stop the kids being trafficked. I'll let you off. I won't criticize you for this. But you can't bury it because it makes your idea look bad. So he talks about it here. Here we go.
Appreciating is that you went to the southern border. Now you're saying that you're going to give people facts. What did you take away from that experience?
I'll tell you a fact I took away. I talked to the head of all the border guards down there, the head of the union. I asked him straight up, kids are coming over the border with numbers written.
The numbers he's talking about, by the way, and you can see them in photos, some of these kids actually have numbers written on their arms. Like, not just phone numbers. Like, sometimes it's like a serial number. And you're like, what? What is this? Like, they need to be sponsored by someone. So, the border agents will actually call the person that is sponsoring this kid that's crossing over.
On them, phone numbers and addresses. Do we check those out? He said, well, we call them. Is it possible that we're sending them into known prostitution ring or sweatshop? He said, it's not possible. It is absolute.
It's not possible. It's absolute. And just remember, this is on The View in the morning. Okay.
I honestly can't even believe they let him do it.
I don't think they expected it. And The View is live, right?
Right.
Whoopi Goldberg, she's like half in the bag already. She's on her fourth wine cooler already. So they talk more about the kids being trafficked. They talk about some of their sources, and it's happening. So this is where they criticize them.
And the same agencies that knew that are the agencies that shut down the schools for 2 years.
I love look at his face right there. He's like, all the same agencies that shut down the school for 2 years. So remember, when it comes to the COOF, children were the lowest possible affected age group. In fact, there's a lot of questions about kids that died, whether they died from the flu or they died from COVID, because there's a lot of things. It's very muddy situation. For like 2 years, there were no flu deaths.
Right.
Why were there no flu deaths for 2 years? Because every flu death was being attributed to COVID. So the normal amount of flu deaths you would have for kids you had, but they attributed that to COVID because all flu deaths for almost 2 years was basically blamed on COVID. So he has a good point here. So they shut down the school for 2 years.
Who does that? Who takes away the...
Who does that? He got all the information for once. He's like, whoa, wait a minute here, folks.
Yeah. That's what it feels like. Like, he just recently, someone told him everything. And he's like, shit, I've got to start a news network. Somebody needs to know about this.
Yeah, bro. It's like he just figured it out or something. He's like tripping out, yeah.
Support system for these children. Who takes them away and shuts it down? And by the way, when they shut it down, they stopped the mandated reporters from being able to see children that were being abused.
And this is another thing. I didn't even know this. When they shut down the school and they shut down the whole system, they made it so that the workers that were supposed to be checking up on these kids that were being reported to be abused no longer did so. So we shut down the school, sent kids back to their potential abusers, and then didn't check up on them for 2 years. Jesus, that's terrifying.
And things like suicide rate went up as well, which nobody talks about.
Yeah, no one talks about that.
And I mean, and it wasn't just adults; it was kids too.
Hospitals misreporting death. COVID was a bad thing, but we did. And he says this at some point. He goes, Like, we didn't handle it right. We really mishandled this, and our kids are going to suffer for it. That's the point he's trying to make.
Sexually molested, and in fact sent them home and abandoned them to their abusers with no way to watch, and referrals dropped 50 to 60%. So
There was also a pandemic going on, and they were trying to save.
Now, this is when they're trying to. This is when they're like, well, there's a pandemic going on. They're trying to run interference for whatever. I don't know. Why are we always doing that? Why are we running interference for these like corrupt politicians and people that make, or maybe just bad? Maybe they're just bad at their jobs. Look, Dr. Fauci, bro, if you made a mistake, just own it. Like, don't lie about it like 2 years later. Like, we were all there. Why are we running interference for people that were either inept at their jobs or they're lying to? Why are we running interference for them? Why is anyone running interference?
Yeah, it really doesn't. It's like, at what point did we all these folks just decide like, oh, we're on board with big pharma and, big government and all of these things. We're just whatever they say, whatever they say goes. And just because,
like, rebels, like, dude, Rage Against the Machine. I grew up listening to Rage. They're the anarchy, right? Was promoting Pfizer, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, have you forgotten?
Rage Against these nuts.
Yeah, Rage Against these. What happened to you guys? Like, who just blindly trusts big pharmaceutical companies? Who does that? And I'm blaming Republicans too. It's not just them. It's all of them. They all just took the blue pill and said, trust the system. Oh, F off. The system never worked for me. Does it work for everyone else? Does it work? The system doesn't work for us. The system abandoned us. It abandoned most of us. The system only works. Guess who the system works for? The system. The system works for the system. The rest of us are just cogs in a never-ending machine of despair. You have to step out of the system and make your own way. And part of that is not trusting the system.
Facts. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Totally agree, man.
Let's finish this. There's a minute left.
It's all right.
Lives.
I'll carry on.
We know a lot of folks who died during this.
It's just already drunk. It's like, yeah, but we know a lot of folks that died from this. Okay, all right. We're not. No one is saying that didn't happen. Whoopi, no one is saying that. Please, Phill, please correct this person right now.
So it wasn't, people weren't laying around eating bond, but,
He just said, not school children. And that, again, this is on live television. Like, dude, we couldn't say this on YouTube a year ago.
Seriously.
Like a year ago, if I would have said that on YouTube, my channel would have been banned.
You know what? We're lucky. Maybe we're lucky they didn't, because we kept them out of...
I'm sorry, I gotta go. Look at Dr. Phil's face.
Well, you know what? We're lucky. Maybe we'll...
That's like...
That is just a bitch, please. Like, that is what it just reads. It might as well be a meme.
You can hear him breathing.
We're lucky they didn't, because we kept them out of the places that they could be sick, because no one wanted to believe we had an issue.
Are you
Spit it out, Whoopi.
saying no school children died of COVID?
Are you saying no school children died of COVID? This is the problem. We don't actually know, because for 2 years you reported every flu death, actual normal influenza death, as a coof death. We don't know. So the narrative is, well, of course they did. We don't actually know. But what we do know is that the lowest at-risk group was kids in school.
I'm saying it was the safest group. They were the less vulnerable group.
No, I'm saying it was the safest group. It was the less vulnerable group. What he wanted to say was, no, you corrupt lizard person, listen to my words.
And they suffered and will suffer more from the mismanagement of COVID than they will from the exposure to COVID. And that's not an opinion, that's a fact.
Well,
She's like, okay, commercial break now, please.